Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our first antibody clinical trial project meeting. So this is our kickoff meeting, and the first, please let me introduce our stakeholders. First is Dr. Mac Brown. So he is a doctor from Hospital ABC, and he is responsible for the patient's enrollment for our clinical trial. And then next is Dr. Jason White. So he's our AVP. He's responsible for antibody um, much, much manufacturing, and he's also expert in antibody drug. The next is Emma Black. She is our head of R&D department, and she's also responsible for clinical trial data collection as well as analysis. The next is Josh Green. So he will be responsible for the final report of this clinical trial and send the new drug application to FDA. Then is Kelly. So she is our financial department. She's the head of our financial department. Also, our CEO, Ken Smith, and Dr. Brandon Group will also attend this meeting. So Dr. Brandon, so he's also from our R&D department, and he lead the discovery and the early development of this antibody. And now this antibody are going to are already finished the preclinical studies. Now we get approved from FDA to continue to our clinical stage of this antibody. So let's look at the antibody drug development timeline. So in last year, about 8 months ago in June 2020, this antibody was discovered from patients from COVID-19 patients' blood. And 1 month later, so we already successfully expressed this antibody in the lab. Use our mammalian cells to express this antibody. Then in the next 2 months, from August to November, so we have done the preclinical studies of this antibody in cells level and in animal studies. So all these preclinical studies demonstrate this antibody has great potential to be used in humans as a antibody drug candidate for COVID-19 therapy. Then we applied for clinical studies to FDA. So just as you may know, just a few days ago, FDA approved our application, and we just started this clinical research of this antibody. So our clinical plan, this is our briefly clinical plan. So there will be 4 steps. The first step is the patient's enrollment. And the second step will be antibody manufacturing and distribution. Then we are also be focused on the clinical data collection and do analysis. Finally, we are make a summary of all the clinical data to see whether it's promising candidate or not. If it is a promising candidate, we will send a report and application to FDA for as a new drug application. So the first step is the enrollment of patients. So as we said before, Dr. Mac Brown, he will be responsible for this step. As we know, usually for clinical studies there are phase 2 and phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3. It will take a few months to a few years. But in this case, because the antibody is kind of urgent needed, so we will combine phase 1 and phase 2. Totally about 800 and 1,000 patients will be enrolled. So we will include those patients from 18 to 15 years old, from very mild symptoms to very serious symptoms. And we try to make half of them are male patients and half of them are female patients. Those patients younger than 18 years old or older than 15 years old will be included in this clinical trial. And also some patients with autoimmune diseases will also be excluded. Then this 800 to 1,000 patients will be divided in two groups, the therapeutic group as well as therapeutic group with our new antibodies, as well as the traditional treatment group with the traditional method to do the comparison. After the patient's enrollment, the second step is the antibody manufacturing and distribution. So our VP, Jason White, will be responsible for this part. So in this part, we will calculate how much amount of antibodies needed in clinical trials for those 800 or 1,000 patients. And we will discuss and decide the drug labels and the dose for each person, and the frequency of the antibody to be given to each patient. Most importantly, we will also discuss the antibody drug transportation and storage condition and the requirement, because antibody is kind of very temperature sensitive. It's very unstable in room temperature, so it has a very high requirement for transportation and distribution. So this part will be very essential for the whole clinical trial project. So then Dr. Emma Black, she will be responsible for the clinical data collection and do analysis. So in this case, we will figure out what to collect, such as the symptoms change, from serious symptoms to mild symptoms change, and how many days patients in hospital, and the survival rates between two groups, and the recovery rates, and how many days to recover, etc. And also we will collect the blood of the patients to do some of the tests to see how much virus remain in the blood after the treatment. And we will also decide when we collect those data, and once, and the frequency, once a month or once a week or twice a month. And we will also decide how long the trial will be going on. It's a 1 month trial, or 2 months, or 70 days. And we will try to decide the statistical analysis method for the data analysis. As 3 things we need to consider for the clinical data collection. So Dr. Emma Black, so you may need to think about that, and we can discuss more details in next meeting. So last one is the clinical trial final report based on the treatment result, and we will decide whether we can file a new drug application to FDA for the COVID-19 treatment. Since we haven't started yet, so we don't know how the result will be, and we'll discuss more details based on the result to see whether we can, to see whether this drug is effective enough to file a new drug application to FDA. So so Josh Green will be responsible for this part. Okay, so this is that's all for this meeting, and our next meeting will be 1 month later, and this project meeting will be once a month. And any questions, and if not, so and each person, everybody needed to think about what we can do next, and think about each step to write a report for the details of each step, and we can discuss more details and the progress for our next meeting. If there's no questions, that's all. Thank you for your time and attention. See you next time. Bye-bye.